Roger Alexander. I'm the owner and CEO of Alpha Male Visuals Video Production here in Kansas City. Been shooting in KC for about 5 years. Originally I'm from Houston, Texas, and getting ready to take this thing down to Atlanta, Georgia, man. I'm making that leap. About to quit my day job and start doing this thing full time, man.
I heard the Houston for sure. Whenever you said
The Texas?
Yeah. Texas, yeah. Alright, so where are you at? You just kind of mentioned it and we already talked about it. Where are you at in your head, this whole idea of a real job? Like what's making you say to the left with that and try to, you know?
I mean, so for about 5 years I've been working for a software company called Cerner. It's a great company, but you know, they got good benefits and pay and all that stuff, but for me, I wasn't passionate about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would go to work every day, and I was just kind of going through the motions. Like, I wasn't waking up in the morning like, man, I can't wait to go to work, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? It was just kind of like, I just need to do this to make money, to do what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a big difference between me going into the job, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm down talking my day job, because I'm not at all. It's a great company, but it's just a huge difference from going to the day job and sitting in front of a computer and, you know, just typing and you know, solving software problems for 8 hours a day, as opposed to when I get home and I go and I start doing the stuff I really want to do with my video production, and I'm thinking of all these ideas for music videos, and my heart starts beating fast, and I'm thinking of all these ideas, and like, when I try to explain my ideas to an artist about a music video that I've come up with, like, I lose my breath, like, my heart starts beating fast. I'm like, man, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that and blah, blah, blah. And it's just those moments where I just sit back and I was like, man, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, you know, having that reaction to something, and then that feeling that you get after you turn that project in, and it's exactly what, you know, you had in your mind or that artist wanted, and they're all excited about it. I mean, it's a great feeling, man. And so I was just, you know, I want to turn that feeling into something that I can make money off of and support myself doing for a living, as opposed to just doing it, you know, on the weekends and after 5 p.m. on Monday through Friday.
So there's obviously bold risks, and the word I've been throwing out is like the audacity to think that you can actually, Roger Alexander, go do Alpha Male Visuals and like be self-sufficient.
Right.
Or what's the other word? The gall. Somebody said the gall. The gumption. You know what I mean? So, what gives you the audacity to believe in yourself, and at what point in this process did it click in your head like, damn, like AMV could really make it?
I mean, it's always been my goal to work up to a point where I could do it full time. For me, it was getting to a point where I was confident in making that decision, like the time is now type thing. So generally, when I first started, I kind of gave myself like a 5-year plan. I made a 5-year business plan as far as where I was going to be after like year 2, year 4, and then by that 5-year plan, what I was going to be doing. So my goal was to basically, you know, build my brand and get a name and reputation here in Kansas City. And first see if, you know, if I could try and do it full time here, but just kind of from the analysis that I did with, you know, the amount of artists that are here, and then, you know, the type of budgets that we have working with, you know, I wasn't able to really do what I wanted to do here all the time. Like, I can get those type of projects here and there, but it wasn't like a constant thing where I could get those big budget projects that I can, you know, make a living off of. And so it was kind of like I wanted to build a brand here and then go to a bigger city where we have more opportunity to do those things full time, as opposed to doing it as a hobby. And out in Atlanta, I mean, everybody's either a rapper or a model or something out there. So there was just more opportunity there. And for me, it was, you know, I kind of made a business plan of figuring out, you know, how much money I was going to be spending per month on expenses. So I really just, it wasn't a feeling for me, it was more like it was a feeling with getting the numbers right. So I made sure, you know, every month I was going to be spending how much on rent, how much on insurance, how much on utilities, groceries, pretty much everything that I was going to be expensing, and then, you know, multiply that by 12. So let's say worst case scenario, I could go a year without income, because a lot of times those startup companies, that first year is always hard with, you know, trying to get clientele, especially going to a new city where nobody knows me. You know, it's going to be harder because I don't have the clientele that I have here in KC. So I wanted to make sure that I was straight, because a lot of times startup companies go under because they don't have that startup capital, or, you know, they weren't bringing in income fast enough to cover the expenses that it takes to run a small business. And there's always hidden costs everywhere. You know, you think you might only be paying $500 for rent, but then you got to take into account, you know, if you're a sole proprietor, you got to take into account health insurance and phone bills and gas money and all these other things that you might not have thought about. So for me, it was really sitting down and analyzing my situation, and then being realistic with, you know, how much money am I going to have to fall back on if things are going rough. So it was getting all my equipment together. A lot of times with productions, you know, people rent stuff from rental houses and things like that, and that's just more expenses on top of what you're already going to be paying out. So for me, I wanted to own everything so I can get to a point where I don't have to do any rentals. So that was my next step, was once I got that, then I wanted to get all my equipment, so going forward everything I would be doing is all profit. And then once I got to that stage, then it was these weren't kind of in order, these were just kind of like different check marks of stuff I had on my list. And then it was, you know, getting my quality to a level where I was comfortable with putting it in front of anybody. You know what I'm saying? Starting out, you know, a lot of times you have to do certain type of projects to, you know, get exposure or get it out there just to get people to pay attention to what you're doing, and then you can work your way up and do different type of projects and all that stuff. So once I got to a point where I had projects where, you know, I could show this to my mom, or I could show this to, you know, the homie down the street, or I could show this to anybody that I could feel comfortable with putting that in front of and put my name on it. Once I got those three things kind of in order, then I was like, all right, yeah, it's time to do this.
Bang. So say the three things, like boom, boom, boom.
So the three things were getting my work to a level of quality that I was confident in putting in front of anybody. Then it was getting enough money saved up to where I was comfortable with having fallback money in case, you know, that first few months or a year was rough trying to get started out. And the third one was getting all my equipment that I needed, so I wouldn't be, you know, renting stuff all the time, and all of my projects would be profit going forward.
Have you experienced much in the way of like obstacles up to this point, or, you know, what are your thoughts on the biggest obstacles and what you got going on or what you've already done?
Obstacles. So time, obviously, you know, dealing with having a day job. The only time I could work on these projects was Saturdays, Sundays, or if it was during the week, it was, you know, I work 8 to 5 every day. So then it was, I get home and it's like 5:30 to whenever I go to sleep. So time, and then working in video production is so time consuming. So after you shoot a video, you spend hours in front of the computer editing and doing everything that you need to do. So time was definitely an obstacle. You know, explaining to clients that because I have a day job, my turnaround time is probably not going to be as fast as some of the other people that were shooting in Kansas City who were already kind of doing it full time and whatnot. But, you know, my thing was I'm going to put more time into it to make sure that, you know, my quality is there and it, you know, justifies taking that amount of time of getting that video back to them. So time with the day job was an obstacle. Money is always an obstacle. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times clients want these big blockbuster movie productions with $200. It's not gonna work. So you kind of have to be realistic with, you know, the budgets that you have available and what you can do with those budgets. Obstacles. A lot of times, so with my productions, working with like hip hop and R&B culture and artists and stuff like that, a lot of times we don't get the same opportunities that a lot of other genres or types of productions will get.